On a quiet afternoon in March 1876, in a small rented laboratory filled with tangled wires, wooden frames, and experimental machines, a young inventor leaned over his workbench and spoke a sentence that would change human history forever. "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." In that moment, sound traveled through an electrical wire and emerged clearly in another room, and the age of instant global communication was born, guided by the relentless vision of Alexander Graham Bell. Long before the telephone existed, Bell's life had been shaped by sound, speech, and silence. Born into a family of speech teachers, he grew up surrounded by discussions about pronunciation, hearing, and communication. His mother was deaf, and his deep desire to help people hear and speak pushed him towards studying acoustics and voice mechanics. Years later, after moving to Boston, he began working as a teacher for the deaf, helping students learn to communicate through innovative methods, while secretly spending his nights experimenting with sound transmission. At the time, the world already had the telegraph, which could send coded messages over wires, but only one message at a time. Bell dreamed of something far greater, a harmonic telegraph that could send multiple messages simultaneously on different frequencies. While trying to solve this technical problem, he began wondering, what if instead of sending codes, he could send the human voice itself? This idea seemed impossible to many scientists. Sound, after all, was made of invisible vibrations in air. How could those vibrations be turned into electrical signals sent through metal wires and then transformed back into clear speech? Yet Bell believed that if he could mimic how the human ear worked, he could reproduce sound electronically. To turn his ideas into reality, he needed technical help. He found it in a talented young mechanic named Thomas Watson, who could build complex devices from Bell's sketches. Together, they began years of exhausting trial and error, working in cluttered rooms filled with magnets, coils, diaphragms, batteries, and fragile instruments. Most experiments failed. Sometimes they heard only static, sometimes faint buzzing, sometimes nothing at all. Wires burned, components broke, money ran out. Bell's sponsors grew impatient. Rivals were racing towards similar inventions. The pressure was enormous. At the same time, Bell was locked in a silent battle with another inventor, Elisha Gray, who was also developing a voice transmission device. Both men were approaching the same breakthrough from different directions, and whoever reached the patent office first would claim immortality. Bell worked almost without rest. In early 1876, he designed a new transmitter using a thin diaphragm connected to a conducting wire immersed in liquid. When sound waves struck the diaphragm, it vibrated, changing the electrical current in precise patterns. These patterns could travel through wires and be converted back into sound at the other end. On March 7, 1876, Bell received the official patent for an improvement in telegraphy, only hours before Gray submitted a similar design. History had chosen its winner. 3 days later, the experiment that would define civilization took place. Bell was in one room, Watson was in another. Bell accidentally spilled acid on himself and instinctively called out for help, speaking naturally into his device. To his shock, Watson heard his voice clearly through the wire and rushed in. It worked. For the first time in human history, spoken words had traveled electronically. Bell immediately realized the magnitude of what he had achieved. This was not just an improved telegraph. It was a machine that could collapse distance, erase isolation, and connect human minds across continents. Yet convincing the world was not easy. Many people believed the telephone was a novelty, a scientific toy with no practical value.
Western Union, the largest communication company at the time, dismissed it as useless. Investors laughed. Some scientists doubted it could ever work reliably. Bell refused to give up. He traveled across the United States and Europe, giving public demonstrations. At exhibitions, he spoke into his device while audiences hundreds of meters away heard his voice. At the 1876 Philadelphia Centennial Exhibition, stunned crowds listened as Bell recited Shakespeare through the wires, leaving judges speechless. Slowly, attitudes changed. Businesses realized they could communicate instantly. Newspapers reported the miracle. Engineers improved the technology. Demand exploded. In 1877, Bell and his partners founded the Bell Telephone Company, launching the first commercial telephone network. Operators manually connected calls. Wooden wall phones appeared in offices and homes. Wires spread across cities like metallic spiderwebs. The communication revolution had begun. Bell did not stop innovating. He improved transmitters, developed better receivers, and helped establish standards. He later worked on sound recording, aviation, hydrofoils, and medical devices, but nothing matched the impact of the telephone. Within decades, telephone lines crossed oceans, underwater cables connected continents, voice traveled from New York to London, from villages to capitals, from ships to shores. Families stayed connected, businesses expanded globally, governments coordinated faster, journalism accelerated, society itself began to move at a new speed. And it all traced back to that fragile experiment in 1876. "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." Those words did more than summon a friend. They summoned the future.